very big welcome to the third ever Race Equality Week and our second event during this series. The focus of today's event will be how to make tackling race equality everyone's business. I'm Tulsiani, the Chief Executive of Green Park and today's chair. I'm also the chair of Race Equality Matters, which I co-founded with Javed of the Collaboratory. It's great to have so much interest here today. And we've just gone past 300 organisations across 130 different cities, towns, ranging from Doncaster to Durham, Essex to Edinburgh, and we're expecting people from Acton to Atlanta in the US and Hampshire to Hamburg in Germany. It clearly shows the reach and appetite of people wanting to collaborate and be catalysts for real change, moving past discussion and talking and thought leadership to actual impacts. So before we start, a little bit of housekeeping. We acknowledge that we're looking for help to make our events as accessible as possible in the future. We'll be recording this event for you to access later along with the slides. Closed captioning has also been enabled. Your sound will hopefully be auto-disabled. But if you have any questions along the way, please do put them in the chat and we will hopefully cover them during or just after the session. Please do tweet and use your social media to try and get our content and messages out across the week and create a big Equality Week buzz. We're hoping to hit 4 million people this week. You'll see our handles here on the right. And for us, this idea of making it everyone's business is just so important. We've got a huge productivity gap in the UK. We're not going to be able to hire in the same people from around the world as we have done, so we have to do more with what we've got. And that's just not going to be possible to increase engagement without increasing intersectional inclusion. And we cannot do that by ignoring race. And I'm glad to say that our partners have made it possible alongside Green Park to fund Race Equality Matters. So huge thank you for Lloyd of London, who along with Green Park are powering Race Equality Week, and we're delighted to have Mark Lomas, the head of culture, with us today. For those of you who don't know Mark or following him on social media, he is one of the top diversity, inclusion, culture and ethics professionals in the UK. So a big thank you also to some of our other partners, BT, who helped us get this thing off the ground in 2020, Auto Trader, HS2, Edelman, and Network Rail, who you'll also be hearing from later on today with some of the tremendous support and energy they've given this campaign over the last 3 years. Their support means we can run Race Equality Week, and that you, your allies, your friends, the people you're trying to educate and change behaviours with, can access all of our resources for free. But we are a not-for-profit. We're keen to keep expanding our reach. And of course, as everyone is, we are in need of further funding. So if your organisation would like to get involved with funding, sponsorship or co-marketing opportunities, please do get in touch with the team to find out more. So we've got lots to pack in and we'll tend to close on time at 1:45. So to keep things moving, today's session will, as always, be dynamic and fast-paced. But you will have time to access recorded footage afterwards. The agenda includes a poll and 2 interactive opportunities to collaborate and learn from each other. And then we will have a discussion panel on how to make race equality everyone's business, where we will be joined by Mark Lomas from Lloyd of London, Leon Donald from Tesco, with some input from Joe Heath, for the resident expert in our own Green Park's guys practice. We'll then hear from Lily Kitchen and Jyoti Jassi on how Network Rail are fostering active allies and making a difference. And again, thank you for your support. AfrifaTchie, the ex-head of People and Wellbeing and Equity at Mental Health First Aiders, will share their journey in becoming an anti-racist organisation. And welcome back, another long-term supporter of our campaign here. You'll also hear about REM's free resources for the week and other events we've got planned. And if time permits, we'll have a short Q&A at the end. As mentioned, we're aiming to finish at 1:45. And we'll try and put everyone's, we'll try and collate and put everyone's input and ideas following the event in an aim to share with you 50 plus ideas to provide you with some tools and guidance on how to tackle these key issues being raised. So let's get going. We always like to do a poll at these events so people know who's in the room. So please, if you were kind enough to launch the poll.
Yeah, thank you everyone for completing the poll. Over 350 of you, which is fantastic. So what's great to see here today is it's roughly 50-50 of allies and those identify as ethnically diverse or inappropriate equivalent. So a very good mix, which is fantastic and important because it is everyone's business. Where do you sit in your organization, which is question 2. 20% senior leaders, 20% DNIs, 17% race network members, and 11% race network leads. What's really fantastic is 38% other roles, so not the normal typical positions we expect at these events. So again, that's fantastic to show it's everyone's business. Question 3, what activities has your company planned for Race Equality Week? It's great to see 56% of you, so more than half, are looking at doing a 5-day challenge, followed by organising internal events, which is great. 21% doing the Big Promise and 70% doing My Names, which are the top 3. Question 5. In your organisation, who do you think is playing a key part in tackling race inequality? So one of the highest scores we've had for this is 70% ethnic and diverse colleagues. It's always in the high 60s, so this is 70%. So nearly more than 2/3 of you think it's this community that is tackling race inequality, and that's the challenge. It has to be everyone's business. Second is the D&I function, saying 49%, and 38% think the HR function is. And leaders and managers, 42%. So again, we need to spread this much more. Question 6, in your organisation, of those who are not ethnically diverse, approximately what percentage are tackling race inequality? So this is what percentage are not tackling race inequality. And if you look at the bottom quartile, it's 63%, which is really disappointing. 21% think the majority of those who are not ethnically diverse are tackling race inequality, and only 8% think 3/4 are. So we still have a huge way to go on that. Question 7, how is your organisation addressing race inequality? So 39% focus on action, change and impact. That's what we have to get up. We want 50% next and then 75% down the line. 44% say they talk and does a little bit of action, and 12% just talks and does very little or nothing. Question 8, has your organisation done anything that has made a noticeable impact in tackling race inequality? 49%, so roughly half of you say yes, and we'd love to hear from you to find out what you're doing to make an impact, and we can showcase you at a future event. Question 9, how well does your organisation encourage and support allies to drive race equality? 21% saying a great deal, 34% a fair amount. It's 42%, so nearly half are a little, not enough, or not at all. And the final question, 10, is your organisation taking impactful steps towards being an anti-racist organisation? 59% said yes, which is fantastic to hear. 13% saying no, so that's 1 in 8 of you, and 28% not sure. So thank you for that, and it's something we're able to monitor as the months go by and hopefully get an improvement and show it's everyone's business.
So Race Equality Week was created to be a catalyst and to accelerate some ongoing and continuous change, but to always be co-created with the lived experience of the people that we're trying to help. So in this world, we are trying to empower existing ways of doing things and making them more relevant. We're trying to take away money as an excuse to put race in the most difficult quartile. And more than anything else, we're trying to showcase and highlight the positive impact certain organizations and leaders are making. So without further ado, to set the scene, I'd like to share a quick video that our friends at Network Rail will be showing in their stations up and down the country. There's a place to Thank you, Network Rail. There's more information about Race Equality Week on our website, and those include the free resources and guides to the events that we and our partners are putting on. I'd like to hand over to Javed, who can take you through the rest of the agenda.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, I've seen people asking, so all the videos we'll be sharing today, you'll be accessible after the event we'll share with you. We'll also do a voiceover versions for those where there is visuals but no talking. Okay, so thank you all. You may recall the first Race Equality Week theme was "Let's not go back to normal." Can we have the slide, please, Blaze? Yep. And that was during the sort of pandemic and COVID, real hot topic. Then last year was action, not just words. There was too much talking, but little action. And it's good to see Black History Month utilising that to keep this action going. And this year, again, what's been touched upon is, it has to be everyone's business. Until we get it to everyone's business, we won't see the change we need. So without going into further detail about this, now's the perfect time to introduce our first two speakers. So I'm delighted to introduce Mark Lomas from Lloyd's and Leon Donald from Tesco's. If you could kindly unmute yourselves, please. For those who may not know Mark, he is the head of culture at Lloyd's, the world's leading insurance and reinsurance marketplace. Mark's delivered numerous diversity and inclusion projects in the UK and internationally across a wide variety of sectors. He's a multi-award winner and author, having helped BBC, Law Society, HS2, and now Lloyd's of London, as well as others. In 2021, he was recognised by D&I Leader Company as one of the top 100 global inspiration D&I leaders. So thank you for joining this panel today, Mark. And we know hearing you speak before, you'll make a real impact. So thank you. I'd also like to introduce Leon Donald, who's head of buying and supply chain at Tesco Mobile virtual network operator. Leon is also the project lead for the Tesco Black Action Plan. He's over 10 years of retail and commercial experience. And having spoken to him a few times, it's clear his drive and passion to be active in progressing outcomes for the UK's Black community. And he writes some fantastic posts on social media. Last year, he won the 2022 Inspiration Leader Award at the Ethnicity Awards for spearheading the Tesco Black Action Plan, a plan which aims to dismantle systemic racism. Again, thank you for joining us, Leon. So without further ado, if we could just go to Mark first. Why is it important to make race equality everyone's business, and how have you gone about it?
Brilliant, great. Well, thanks for having me, Javed. I think it's one of the reasons that Lloyd has chosen to sponsor Race Equality Week for the next 3 years is really because of our commitment to our long-term ethnicity plans, responding both to the kind of the lived experience research that we've conducted since 2020 and delving into the Lloyd's archives as well. And we wanted to select and partner with an organization that could help us to push practical tools across the whole of the Lloyd's market, and not just Lloyd's, the corporation or the organization itself. And I think for us, it's quite simple as a global marketplace. Why should it be everyone's business? Well, it should be everyone's business because everyone benefits from an inclusive environment, and therefore it's everyone's job to contribute to that. And we're quite clear about that. But also, I think it's not enough just to have a handful of allies. I think pretty much every organization can point to the senior leader or the executive that consistently steps forward to do these things. But we need more of a critical mass. And the reality just is still that ethnically diverse people aren't represented in enough numbers in decision making and senior leadership levels to do it themselves. So a critical mass of allies is very important. For us, the way we make it everyone's business is we have specific culture, D&I KPIs for the entire senior leadership team, which are linked both to performance and bonus. And it is part of the 4 pillars of the Lloyd strategy. So it's a very direct line to making it everyone's business. And the CEO, the chief people officer, and other EXCO members have made a big promise or are rolling out the 5-day challenge, doing the My Name Is badge globally. And that's about them setting an expectation that their teams will get involved. And I think the impact that I'd like to see this year is I really would like to see insurance increase its exposure and participation in race equality week, and I think we're beginning to see that.
Great, thank you. And Leon, same question to you. So how are Tesco making race equality everyone's business?
Hi everyone, thanks for having me, Javed and team. So I guess it's fair to say that we are on a journey when it comes to racial equality at Tesco. And there are three things we're doing to make race equality everyone's business. So firstly, there's our Black Action Plan. And following the George Floyd tragedy in 2020, we came to recognise that systemic racism won't be solved in a month. And we've had to do more to help solve this complex problem. Now, our 8-year Black Action Plan, it aims to help dismantle systemic racism and build a more inclusive business through removing the barriers which disproportionately impacts the Black community. The plan aims to achieve fair and equitable representation and has a focus on talent, commercial, community, and brand. Second, there's allyship. And just to echo some of Mark's points, there's a real focus on allyship at Tesco. And we have allies across the business who role model allyship to support the racial equity agenda at Tesco. I think it's important to note that allies play a real key role and use a platform to help mobilise change for the community. Whether it's our CEO for the UK of ROI, Jason Tarry, who uses his position to get some budgets signed off, for example, for the Black Action Plan, or even sending out colleague communications following the Tyre Nichols tragedy recently. So allyship does play a real key part in how we make race equality everyone's business at Tesco. And thirdly, similar to Mark's point again, there's recognition and reward. So allyship and inclusive leadership is recognised under the HOW, which carries a 50% weighting for our colleagues' performance ratings at the end of the year, encouraging the right behaviours across all of our colleagues within our business through linking inclusive behaviours such as allyship to colleague progression and reward. This is another example of how we are making race equality everyone's business at Tesco.
50% as part of the reward recognition is fantastic. So thanks for sharing that. Mark, what impact have you seen by when things are made everyone's business?
Well, I think we're seeing across the market and within the corporation, we are starting to see more progress. And I think that's been very important for us in terms of highlighting the issues around representation, around race equality. Our partnership with Race Equality Matters is one of the ways we really want everyone in the market to feel it's their business. And I think when we kind of initially discussed the partnership, I think, you know, insurance had the second lowest participation rate, like 0.01% or something like that. And already we can see, you know, more than 26 organizations in our marketplace are actively taking part in Race Equality Week. And I think almost more importantly than just the week itself, it's the ongoing use of those tools throughout the year for us, which is really exciting as a global marketplace, particularly, you know, when we think about how often we interact with our global colleagues from all over the world. And My Name is such a wonderful way of opening up a conversation and dealing with a microaggression. And just to echo Leon's point, it is incredibly important that aspects of making it everyone's business are systemized. And by that, I mean it.
You got on mute, Mark. You got on mute.
Sorry about that.
I think
I think it's very important that it's systemized, that it flows through your performance management framework, your remuneration framework, how your senior leaders are measured. These are the things that make the tangible difference. Being deliberate about your expectation for change is really the very first step. So the impact so far for us has been wonderful. But I'm really looking forward to this partnership over the next 3 years and really turning the dial.
Fantastic, thank you. Leon, on the Black Action Plan, what impact has Tesco started to see?
I mean, I can't speak on behalf of the community, but what I can say from my personal experience is the actions I can see Tesco are taking. It gives me reassurance there is a real impact being made for the community, which gives me hope in turn. We're investing more in supporting underrepresented groups. For example, we've worked with thought leaders to update our anti-racism policy, and we're running mentoring schemes for our Black colleagues. We've also increased our cost of goods sold with Black-led suppliers, as well as increasing our investments into the wider Black community economically. We're holding ourselves accountable, and we're using data to help measure our progress. And we have also allocated resource across the business to help keep the plan on track. There is a real momentum at the moment, and I feel really proud to see the business putting money where its mouth is.
I think fantastic to see investment in Black and ethnic companies, suppliers, traders, etc. Absolutely crucial. So action drives change, as they say. Thank you very much, Liam. Mark, in about 30 seconds, final questions. Why do you think Race Equality Matters key resources, you touched upon the FIDO challenge and the big promise, will make a difference?
To keep it short and simple, they are very practical. There are things that you can do which change the everyday experience of people. You know, there's bits for education with the five-day challenge, and then there's action. With, you know, my name is very practical tool, and the big promise is a public statement of intent which you can hold people to account for. So I think if you look at it across those axes, yeah, that's why I think the tools are really very good and impactful.
Brilliant. Thank you both, Mark and Leon. Fascinating stuff. As we said to the audience, you know, we record this so you can sort of revisit what was said and shared later on, and sort of, I guess, work out what you can gain and benefit from the insights they've shared. So thank you both. On to our third panelist who couldn't join us today, Jo Heath, who leads the Green Park Diversity Inclusion Ethics team. She works with hundreds of organizations, helping them overcome their diversity and inclusion challenges. So what we managed to do with Jo is do a pre-recorded interview. So if we can play that, please. Thank you. So the first question was, how are organizations making tackling race inequality everyone's business, and how is it working?
Well, I actually like this question because, after all, it is everyone's business, isn't it? And I guess for a long time now, perhaps more pronounced after the tragic death of George Floyd, an organisation's go-to response was to ask the people of colour, perhaps consulting more now with Black and Asian people than ever before. And not always did that feel authentic. There was an expectation placed upon our colleagues that they are the expert and that they need to generate the ideas for change, rather than seeing the importance of a two-way street. Other organisations, I guess, have expected HR and talent teams to drive this agenda and focus on numbers and profile only, which again can be perceived as tokenistic and not addressing the disconnect. So I guess for me, the ones that have really tackled this, the ones that have recognised there is a multi-layered role and responsibility here. And yes, our networks are still crucial in delivering change on the ground, and without that passion, we couldn't do this. But now, some of those leaders in organisations we work with are actually recognising that this misalignment needs to be addressed. And what they think they're doing and what is landing in terms of lived experience needs some work. So I guess the ways in which I've seen this play out is the organisation that have put their leaders through some sort of development in terms of inclusive leadership and building up their cultural intelligence. And this has been really crucial in bridging that cultural connection gap and that misalignment gap. And for me, what I'm starting to see through that development is that they are connecting now with difference. They're starting to have much more conversations around privilege dynamics, which they didn't want to have before and felt quite uncomfortable. They've started to understand the impact that microaggressive comments and behaviours have on the workforce. They're being less defensive, actually, and less fearful, and are responding to their own company insight that shows where disproportionate outcomes might exist on the grounds of race in their workplace.
So can you share an example of what is working?
Many organisations have been doing mentoring for a number of years. It's not particularly new to them, but really impactful race reciprocal mentoring is somewhat different. And if done well and with the correct infrastructure, it can be really powerful for all involved. It does require the following ingredients, though, however, to make things work, and I'll just go through a few of those. So careful consideration regarding the matching of mentees and mentors, an understanding of the different dynamics of this partnership, strong and clear objectives set from the start for both parties so they know what to expect, but also so they can evaluate success. I guess perhaps the most important component here is the setup. And how do we equip both parties for this process? So let's just say in my example, the mentee is a white senior leader, perhaps he's male. He needs to go into this pairing equipped to be the best. Now that may require a level of cultural intelligence that he doesn't currently have. So this is where cultural connection coaching can be really powerful. Now, quite frankly, him embarking on this journey without the knowledge or the backstory of race or the historical context will mean he'll lack credibility. Now, he also needs to be culturally curious, open-minded, and driven to learn about differences in experiences that could be very different to his own cultural frame of reference. Now, let's just say for the mentor, let's say a Black junior female in my example, she also needs to be equipped with the skills, the level to which she can influence the conversation and can perhaps present barriers in an action-oriented way so she can talk about solutions as well as challenges. She also needs to be confident to lead these sessions as the mentor, even though she may be aware of organisational hierarchy. Now, what we've seen when this is done well is the impact is significant. It provides a safe space where both parties can share in a very psychologically safe environment. It's helped to remove barriers. It's raised visibility and awareness of both parties. But as a result, when we've done some analysis, we have seen an increase in diverse groups going forward for promotion when they hadn't before. We've seen engagement levels increase, and we've started to measure and see a culture where people now call out issues which are actually taken seriously and being addressed.
And in summary?
So I guess in summary, the more progressive organisations are moving away from just expecting people of colour to have all the answers, and they're driving some real change and are connecting in different layers. I think the final thing for me to say is that they are building stronger governance structures as well. So their employee networks on the ground are starting to have a real voice, and that voice is heard at senior levels, with many examples that I've got where they're inviting their network chairs into the board meetings and giving that voice and enabling more action.
Thank you, Joe. Joe and the Dice team at Green Park are running a free inclusive leadership session on Thursday. I think it's around 11 o'clock. Again, we'll put it in the link and you can get access to it on our website. So they're offering out to our community and others about inclusive leadership. So thank you. So before you get a chance to have your first collaboration, would you like to share a quick message from Robin Arfi from the insurance sector? What race equality means to me.
Hi, my name is Rob Anafi. I'm the Chief Risk Officer at Beazley.
Why is race equality important?
I'll answer that question in two parts. Race equality is important, firstly, because it's wholly unfair for people to be treated differently simply because they're from different races or might have other different elements to their personalities. Secondly, a group of people in a community, in an organization, trying to achieve any kind of objective or outcome cannot do so if people are not treated equally and given equal opportunities to succeed.
And a theme, why is race equality everyone's business?
Race equality is everyone's business because the people in any community or group of people, in this case, people who may be from a diverse racial background, cannot solve the problem of inequality by themselves. A problem like this needs everybody who's in that particular community or organisation to roll up their sleeves and find solutions.
If you want to know more information on what the insurance sector and Lloyd's are doing, go to lloyds.com/rem, lloyds.com/rem. Okay, so now your first opportunity to engage and learn from each other. We know some of you may have the answers, some have thoughts, but this is your chance to collaborate. You'd have around 8 minutes to share with each other how we can make tackling race inequality everyone's business, you know, the theme for this year. When you go to your breakout groups, it won't be recorded. It will be a safe space. It will be quick, it will be dynamic, and hopefully will help develop a wealth of great suggestions to help you all. We suggest someone volunteers as a chair to enable everyone to have a say, and someone else keeps track of time. We'll give you a 1-minute warning before the end. When you go in, take yourselves off mute and go straight into discussion. And don't take time making introductions because that will use up all your 8 minutes. I've seen it many a time. So please go into your groups look forward to seeing you in 8 minutes. As Raj mentioned, we're having to sort of shelve this breakout session. We'll try again after this. So we'll carry on with the events because I think it's important that we hear from some of the other speakers. So please bear with us and we'll give it another go after we hear from the next speakers. What might be helpful just in the meantime, and we will share this with everyone, if you just go in the chat and put your own thoughts of or your experiences of organizations or where you've seen how organization made it everyone's business. So how do you how have you seen or how do you make it everyone's business? So if we share this in the chat and then post the event, we'll share all this information anonymously with you all. So we still get some ideas from each other. So if we give that sort of like 30, 40 seconds. So just in the chat, put your thoughts or your experiences of how you make these everyone's business. So regular conversations, reflective racism training, reflective sessions, storytelling, very powerful. I think that the importance is not to get the onus on ethnically diverse people all the time to share their stories. It's important if there's action on the back of it, but quite often we're going in circles on that. So there are right ways of doing it, I'd suggest. Okay. So thank you very much. We've got loads in there. And so we will share this with everyone afterwards. So thank you for your contribution on that. Okay, so collaborating and sharing ideas are vital to being successful on the journey to tackling race inequality. That's why we were born and why you're all here. So we're delighted to introduce Lily Kitchen and Jyoti Jassi from Race Equality Matters Trailblazers Network Rail. Network Rail repairs and develops the railway infrastructure in England, Scotland, Wales. They also manage 20 of the country's largest stations, and you'll see one of them, the video we showed you earlier at many of them. So if Jyoti and Lily can unmute yourselves. Lily is a diversity and inclusion professional leading cultural change at Network Rail. She offers specialist D&I advice, delivers strategic change programs, and supports a team of D&I specialists. She leads on Network Rail's Race Matters program, which is recognised as one of the inaugural Race Equality Matters Trailblazers. We're also pleased to introduce Jyoti Jassi, the Apprenticeship Delivery Manager at Network Rail. Jyoti has worked in the rail industry for 8 years and manages the rail engineering apprenticeship and graduate programs. She's on the leadership team of Network Rail's Race Equality Employee Network, Cultural Fusion, leading on external partnerships. For the next 10 minutes, they will share how they're making race equality everyone's business by focusing on active allyship. They will share why Network Rail is focused on active allyship, how they've gone about it, and what impact are they seeing. So thank you to them. Over to Jyoti and Lily.
Super, thanks, Javed. So hi, everyone. Today we're going to be sharing with you how Network Rail has created more allies to race equality. I'm going to start by talking about our Stand Up for Race Equality initiative, and then I'll hand you over to Jyoti, who will talk a bit about the Allies Toolkit that the Cultural Fusion Network have developed. Could we possibly have the slides, Donna or Javed?
Yeah. Coming up now. Play slides, yeah.
Next slide, please. Fantastic. Okay, so Network Rail's diversity and inclusion strategy is called Everyone Matters, and it describes our ambition to be a more open, diverse and inclusive organisation. Our Race Matters project is one part of that strategy and aims to remove barriers that we know Black, Asian and minority ethnic employees and candidates are facing at Network Rail. As part of this project, working with our safety culture team, between 2021 and 2022, we ran a Stand Up for Race Equality event, where all 40,000 Network Rail employees participated in a briefing on the links between safety, race and inclusion. But why did we run it? So separate investigations into 2 accidents on the railway found that racist behaviours and racial tensions were contributory factors. And at an employment tribunal, it was ruled that we failed to investigate allegations of racism. So the Stand Up for Race Equality was part of our response to the recommendations from these investigations, as well as a response to kind of internal data deep dives and focus groups that we'd done. And it was really, about representing our ambition as an organisation to be a safer, more diverse and a more inclusive organisation. The Stand Up was a first for Network Rail and for the wider rail industry, and it was really designed to be an impactful moment where we asked all of our colleagues to stop what they were doing, be them frontline or office-based, and reflect on the behaviours that we need in our organisation to improve safety and make sure that everybody is valued and treated with respect. The stand-up briefing could be held either virtually or face-to-face, and it was designed to be led by line managers, not HR, not our employee network, and not training. This was quite a new approach for us at Network Rail. The briefing took around an hour, and it involved watching a couple of short films and then discussing these with your team or in a small group setting. And we developed kind of supporting training materials for line managers to help them facilitate these conversations. Their role wasn't to be a subject matter expert, it was to step up and lead some of these often uncomfortable conversations that we know some people might avoid. So to give you a flavour of the content, technology permitting, we're now going to show you a short clip of one of the videos that form part of the stand-up. Just go. We should have the video to play.
Next slide, please. Yep.
That's grand. So this is Daniel's story. He's a controller of site safety, which is a COS or a frontline management position. Whilst this content is based on real events, Daniel is an actor. So yeah, we just want to watch the video.
Right, are we rolling? Oh, hang on a minute. Let me straighten my tie. Right, so how long have I been here? God, too long. No, just joking. What is it? Just shy of 22 years. Can you believe that? That makes me feel old. But still, I enjoy it. Great bunch of lads I work with. We're like a family. Well, most of the time. We had a bit of a problem recently. Well, I say that. It was nothing really. We had a new lad join us on secondment, young lad. He said that people were making jokes, poking fun at him. This snowflake generation, bit soft in my opinion. It's just a bit of banter, help keep things light-hearted. I said, keep your head down, get on with it. I haven't got time for your schoolboy antics. I mean, what were they saying? Just, that his lunch was smelly one day. Something about his hairstyle another day. Had his mum braided it for him. Silly stuff like that. I said, well, look, just get used to it. It's tradition around here. People poke fun at the newest member of the team. It's like an initiation process. It's Shane today, it'll be someone else tomorrow. So I thought that would be the end of it, but he came to see me again. I mean, I don't have time for all of this. I am the cause. It's my job to keep everybody safe, not to sort out little squabbles. That is not a safety issue. I mean, what does he expect me to do? Have a go at them? I mean, come on. I can't tell them off. People be treading on eggshells all the time. They say political correctness gone mad, but honestly, you can't say anything to anybody these days. I mean, we're here to do a job, do it safely, and go home. So anyway, I put him as site warden to keep him away from the banter, because I knew people weren't supposed to be talking to the site warden. Plus, I wouldn't have to be listening to his complaining all day. Problem is, he let his concentration slip. Now, he's a good kid, but he didn't see someone moving out of the position of site safety, did he? A team member had to move out of the way quickly to avoid being hit, and he only just managed it with seconds to spare. It was a near miss. Now, I did it for his own good, but we could have had a real disaster on our hands. I don't know, maybe he felt excluded, or that I'd made him site warden as a punishment, but I did it for his own good. Maybe his head wasn't in the game because of all the teasing that had been going on. Who knows? In hindsight, maybe I could have done something to prevent it, but at least nobody was hurt. Safety first, right?
Thank you. If you just want to go on to the next slide, please. Oh, I think it's maybe the slide before, sorry. Before Daniel's one, with the stars on. Oh. Back again, I think. Super, okay. So what was the impact? What outcomes has this programme delivered? So we asked colleagues to share their feedback with us through a feedback form. And of those who responded, you can see on the screen there, 90% of respondents were either somewhat or satisfied with the briefing. 95% of people who responded now understood the impact of non-inclusive behaviours in relation to safety. 90% were either somewhat or extremely confident in challenging poor behaviours in the workplace, something that we know is key to being a proactive ally. And 85% of respondents felt the briefing slightly or would massively improve the culture at Network Rail. And importantly for us, as an industry leader for diversity and inclusion, our reach was beyond our own organisation, with 4,800 people from outside of Network Rail, so in our supply chain, contractors, train operators, also taking part in the briefing. Please could you go on to the slide with the blue bubble on? Super, thank you. So what did we learn? What advice would I give? So firstly, really importantly, hopefully you could tell, it was really linked to our company priority and value of safety. We made it clear to our employees that creating an inclusive environment and taking action to tackle race inequality was also all tied into creating a safer working environment for everybody. We made it an organisational priority. We had dashboards which were produced every couple of weeks to show our progress. We had clear targets, and also our leaders had objectives for making sure their business area got through the training. It wasn't off-the-shelf training, so it was based on our employees' lived experience and events that had happened at Network Rail. So that made it authentic and made it easier to answer those tricky questions, but that would never happen here. The content was accessible and inclusive. All of our videos were captioned with British Sign Language interpretation, and really focused on the role that everybody had to play in promoting race equality. Examples of frontline managers, of senior leaders, of colleagues, and of hiring managers as well. And as I said, the onus was really on line managers stepping up to facilitate these conversations, just as they do about other safety topics in our organisation. The onus wasn't on HR and it wasn't on the employee network. Next slide, please. So the materials can be found on our Safety Central page, and I'll send you a link to that in the chat. I'm now going to hand you over to Jyoti from Cultural Fusion, our employee network for Black, Asian, minority ethnic employees. But before I do, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all the Cultural Fusion leadership team who were on the either with us or not today, for all their support on this programme. Jyoti, over to you.
Thanks, Lily. Can we move to the next slide, please? Thanks. So Cultural Fusion launched its Allies programme, including our Ethnicity Allies Toolkit in June 2021, which contains a variety of resources to support our allies. The programme aims to give allies the tools to better promote race equality, challenge poor behaviours, and engage in conversations about race. We don't consider it a training programme where there is a start and a finish. It's about instilling a culture, and therefore it's an ongoing education about race issues and continuous improvement towards allyship. We built our Ethnicity Allies Toolkit to support our allies no matter what level they deem themselves at. So there is support for allies who are just starting out and want support with awareness, and there is support and resources for those who already deem themselves advocates, as well as support for leaders in this space. The toolkit consists of the Ethnicity Toolkit, which includes definitions of allyship, privilege, as well as training resources, CFN's Guide to Challenging Racial Discrimination, CFN's Quick Guide to Being a CFN Ally or Fusion Friend, and Fusion Friends Allies Resources. Can we move to the next slide, please?
And can we put a spotlight on Jyoti as well, please? Thank you.
Thank you. So the toolkit was created as we were asked for tools and support to help colleagues be more thoughtful and effective allies. It has been designed to provide clarity on what it means to be an ally to Black, Asian and minority ethnic colleagues, and to serve as a guide for current and prospective allies who want to broaden their understanding on issues about race, and to empower allies from all backgrounds to talk about race and make a difference across the business. The toolkit is a free resource and available to anyone within Network Rail. It is endorsed by our sponsors and is for employees and individuals of all races. It is a purposefully bright and colourful resource in order not to intimidate colleagues, as in some places it is quite a hard-hitting read. The toolkit was created by CFN's Allies Lead and CFN's leadership team, who wrote all of the content and signposted to the relevant resources. It's a live document, and as such, the Cultural Fusion leadership team continue to update the toolkit with new resources as they become available. Next slide, please. The toolkit was endorsed by our Chief Executive, Andrew Haynes, and Cultural Fusion's executive sponsors as part of the strategy in stamping out racist attitudes. It supports and complements Network Rail's Race Matters strategy. It was shared across the business to Cultural Fusion members via our D&I champions, as well as through regional business newsletters and briefings. Here you can see some example infographics that support our colleagues to challenge racial discrimination in the workplace, whether it's witnessed by them or if they feel they're experiencing it. Colleagues have a step-by-step guide that supports them through situations such as these, as they're aware that there's a policy in place. Colleagues realise the importance of psychological safety for all. Next slide, please. We also hold a monthly Allies Cafe that allows allies to discuss the topics they may be struggling to understand in a safe space. It provides more education than our tea breaks and allows colleagues to ask questions that aid their understanding. Topics include microaggressions, cultural appropriation, sharing of best practice, historical allyship, privilege, and the power of language. Next slide, please. Here are some examples of impacts and comments of the Toolkit and Allies programme. We are seeing colleagues thinking more outside of the box, and recently a conversation was sparked with a senior colleague who was asking for some support and someone to review their advert for a vacancy to ensure that the language was diverse and inclusive enough and welcoming to all colleagues irrespective of culture, and to ensure that there were no barriers to Black, Asian and minority ethnic colleagues applying for the opportunity. The supporting, training and resources to the Allies programme comes in different forms, such as our half-day workshops, Better Ally Training, which are dedicated workshops on particular topics associated with allyship, as well as our Allies Cafes and our monthly Allies newsletters. And that's it from us at Network Rail, so thanks for having us. Javed, back over to you.
Thank you very much, Jyoti and Lily. And thank you both for sharing the journey and being open and honest, and I guess vulnerable in what you shared. So really appreciate that. And it's being open and honest is the way forward. And Network Rail have kindly said we can share some of the slides and information with you, and then they will provide some links to some of the resources that is for external access, if that's okay. So thank you for that. So what we're going to do is have a second go at a collaboration. So let's give it a go. So basically the focus is what's your experience, or how do allies become active allies? So how are allies becoming active allies? If you just go into your groups, and we'll give you a 1 minute warning. You've got about 8 minutes. Please, if we could have a go, please. Blaze, can you talk so we know you're hearing us?
Yes, I'm hearing us.
Okay.
Yeah. Are we able to get into the rooms now?
No, we can't see it. No.
No. Okay. So it looks like it's having an issue. So I'm trying to open all rooms, but it's not working.
Okay. What we'll do is move on. Right. We apologize. What it will do. The good news is, the highlight is, we said we're going to squeeze a Q&A at the end. Well, we've got more time for Q&A now, so we will do that. If it's okay, yeah, we'll keep moving, and then we'll come back for the Q&A. So, and we see there's been some questions in the chat which my team will capture for some of the stuff Jyoti and Lily were saying. So thank you for that. Okay, so now what we'd like to do is introduce AfrifaTchie, who has been a fantastic supporter. She's a valiant cultural builder whose specialism spans across people's experience, workplace culture, diversity, inclusion, mental health and well-being, and corporate responsibility. And mental well-being has been a key, focus or need for focus, especially in the last 2 years, but obviously before there. She was previously the head of people, well-being and equity at the amazing Trailblazer Mental Health First Aid England. Amma is now the Global D&I Specialist Advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council. Again, unfortunately, she's unable to join us here today, but we've recorded a short video where she shares the journey of Mental Health First Aid England becoming an anti-racist organisation. Thank you. Play the video. The first question, why did you make the decision to focus on being anti-racist organisation?
Simon Blake, our CEO, reached out and said, we need to do something about this. And he also spoke to the leadership team about it, which was great because I didn't have to be the one to say, well, what's happening? What are we going to do? We know, he knew innately, but he's always been passionate about supporting social justice, especially when it's about against the status quo and change needs to happen. So I didn't have to have any uncomfortable conversations. He came and said, we need to make a statement. We need to do something different. Spoke to the leadership team, also spoke to me to ask my views about that. And it was great because I felt that there was allyship from the start. And it was a no-brainer because what we're doing, what Mental Health First Aid England is doing is trying to change the mental health of the nation. And doing that through delivering training courses, but also raising awareness and needing to change the narrative and also talk about how mental health impacts Black people and people of colour or people from racialized communities is imperative because we know the historical context, but also the trauma that is the generational trauma and other trauma that is faced by those communities and society is huge. So yeah, it was a no-brainer in that sense, but it was also very great that I didn't have to be the one to have the conversation. Our leadership and our leader as a CEO knew what the right thing to do was. We had to look at it from internally throughout the audiences we touch. So our mental health first aiders, our clients, etc. And we started with self first, so internally first. And so I delivered together with my colleague a mandatory session around racism, race equity, and what that meant. And also we had to set the scene from the beginning and give the historical context. So part of that was giving the historical context of race relations in the UK, because one thing we were really adamant in doing is making sure that whilst everybody looked at it from a global perspective, because obviously this all derived from the murder of George Floyd and it was in the US, and it was quite easy for people to say, well, that's the US, that's not us. But to reiterate the message that actually what started in the US actually had a global rippling effect that impacted a lot of people and people took stance around it. I think that was the beauty of, for want of a better word, the change that happened this time round, because we've always been talking about race. We've always been talking about racism, but it was just very hard to land, or people just didn't want to talk about it or address it or admit that there was actually a thing. So we took our people through that historical context and understanding, which did include slavery, but it also included other things, so that they realized that the part that the UK had played, not just in slavery, but also in race relations from the start, right up until the George Floyd incident. And then we also talked about an understanding that they would understand what racism actually meant and the different factors around it, institutional, structural, internal, interpersonal, all that stuff. And then we went through what it meant for us as an organization and what the expectation was for every individual. As I said, we had commitments. We derived commitments to start our journey. And as part of those commitments, we had leadership sponsor and be accountable. So everybody that had a leadership position that was accountable for something to deliver, whether it was our training, looking at our products, communications, PR, all that stuff, they would lead and they would be the leads of those pillars. And then their teams would be the ones.
You put your laptop down there.
And it was not about just changing our products, it was changing our attitude and our behaviors. We had internal champions that came together monthly to talk about how they were going to improve as a team and how we could share ideas to be better. Actually, one of the ideas, which was called ARC, which was anti-racism conversations, was something that was born in one of our departments, and actually was such a great idea that we used it across the organization as an opportunity for teams and departments to get to have conversations, uncomfortable and brave and courageous conversations around race within their teams, but also what they might have been struggling with, want to know a bit more about, and how they could learn and grow and educate themselves. What was really important for me, and also very much important for Simon, was that it didn't just become a tick box exercise, that people really thought about how they were going to continually learn and make change. One of the things that we did put in everybody's objectives was to think about how they were going to contribute or change race relations or race equity. The quality assurance team looked at ways in which we would change that through code of conduct and agreements and stuff like that. We also held race equity drop-in sessions for our mental health first aiders. We had 2 sessions, one for people from racialized communities, Black people and people of color, and the other for everybody. Because coming back to the point around safe spaces, it was really important that we created safe spaces for our mental health first aiders who were of color, Black people, or racialized communities to be able to talk about what they were experiencing without feeling pressurized or feeling that they might be, jeopardizing something of their own, but also bring that community together to know who they are if they didn't. And in the open sessions, we opened it up again to all our mental health first aiders, again, creating a safe space for them to be able to connect and talk about racial issues that they were facing.
Why was it important for it to be everyone's business?
In terms of protecting well-being and mental health, there were days where I just was not up for it. And I actually said, no, I'm not doing it today because I'm either too tired or I'm just not feeling it today. Someone else will have to do it. And I think it's around the visibility of different voices, especially with allyship. Allyship is around creating the spaces for people to speak for themselves and the communities and groups and organizations to speak for themselves. But it's also around leadership speaking up and putting their head on the parapet, out from the parapet to say, I'm not just saying this, I'm holding everybody accountable, including my direct reports, and I'm role modeling that through real behaviors that I'm showing.
And crucially, what impact have you seen?
If you read our report, it actually shows you what we've done, that it's actually made such a monumental difference. We changed quite a lot in our products and services. We reviewed all of that to maybe be more inclusive and add a lot more from an intersectional lens to do with race and also intersectionality. Our people have actually come a long way in their learning, especially some of the things we've hosted internally, where people were like, I didn't know that, and now they're in a much, much more different space and continually to learn. And even if you read some of the quotes that we received from our mental health first aiders, our staff, there's definitely a learning journey and a learning curve where they were and where they are now. And they all know that it's a continued evolving learning curve. It doesn't stop because you're just that much better now in understanding.
Thank you, Emma. Emma has so many great things to share. There's the full interview will be included in the VIP goodie bag. The VIP is virtual important person goodie bag, and there's an extra bit from Joe Heath as well on intersectionality, and that's like a thank you for all you attending today. Before we go into the Q&As, what we just do is help your organization engage colleagues and make it everyone's business. As Mark has touched upon, the 5-day challenge built by the Race Equality Matters community, we just like to show a quick video.
I'm doing the 5-day challenge.
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 Hi, I'm doing the 5-day challenge.
I'm doing the 5-day challenge.
I'm doing the 5-day challenge. I am doing the 5-day challenge.
I'm 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 doing the 5-day challenge. I'm doing the 5-day challenge.
I'm Alex, and I'm doing the 5-day challenge.
I'm doing the 5-day challenge.
I'm doing the 5-day challenge.
Gianni Holden is doing the 5-day challenge.
Thank you, Blaze. So the 5-day challenge is basically 5 challenges that take 5 minutes over 5 days. It's available now and it's free. The activities are bite-sized and accessible to maximize colleagues' level of engagement. I think someone said at a meeting today, you know, we might not have half an hour spare. This is 5 minutes. We all have 5 minutes to spare. Built by the Race Equality Matters community, it includes videos, articles, and eye-openers to make us think and reflect. All this within 5 minutes. So it's been beautifully crafted by the community. It also includes links to the new solution, or new Big Promise tool, which you can again access free. So if we just go through next slide, please. So next slide, please. Next slide. So you fill out the tool, next slide. And then you get a sort of what we call virtual postcard. And next one, please. And then the idea is you share your postcard on the social media, and I'm sure loads are seeing it already. Hundreds are doing it already, so please do share it. There's a 40% discount, but for you attending today's 50% discount, which finishes this week, to use our jobs board to promote jobs. And I think Raj talked upon the need for more diverse talent. So we're helping you by 50% discount for you today. So you use REW50 for yourselves, and it finishes this week. Next slide, please. So upcoming events, again, we put in a link and it's on our website. So the next one is the big collaboration event, where again, we pick on some key topics and issues, including data, how to get leaders to step up their game, and how to remove the bias in recruitment. And again, all being well, we'll try and make it a big collaboration. So things to get sorted. And then a closing event at the end of the week where you've got a chance to get together with each other and share what you've all been doing and learn from each other. So that's coming the week. Next slide. And there's some external events, and we mentioned that the inclusive leadership that DICE and Green Park are doing on Thursday. Again, go onto our website, look at external events, and you'll see the information there. Next slide, please. Trailblazers, if organizations, or we saw half of you said you're making an impact, please do let us know, because you'll be then recognized with Trailblazer status, and there's more information on our website, but it's decided by the ethnically diverse community in our network. So not by us, but by your peers, to say, yeah, what your organization doing is making a real difference. Next slide, please. And here's some of the early ones. Next slide, please. Thank you all for taking part in the final poll. As you said, this will help us determine how we can make these events much more impactful and beneficial for you. So the first question, would you recommend today's event to others? Fantastic to see 94% of you saying yes. For those that are not sure, saying no, which is only 6%, we'd love to hear more. Question 2, do you think making it everyone's business will make an impact on tackling race inequality? And again, a high 94% are saying yes, which I think endorses the theme for this year. Question 4, did you learn anything new today? Fantastic, 81% saying yes, only 6% say no. And that is so important, and a big thank you to the fantastic speakers. So you can go to lots of events. We're not really learning much new stuff or what is working and making an impact. So 81% is fantastic. Question 5, will you look to implement anything you learnt today to help make race equality everyone's business? None of you said no, 13% not sure. So that leaves 87% of you would. Again, it shows the value of the sharing and the insights by our wonderful speakers. Question 7, will your organisation take part in the 5-day challenge? Only 2% saying no. But 77% of you saying you will, and or your organisation will, which is brilliant. And we look forward to hearing how it goes. Question 8, do you think the 5-day challenge will help make race equality everyone's business? 60% of you saying yes, only 5% saying no. So again, what we hope to hear after Race Equality Week is, did it make a difference and encourage more people to make tackling race inequality everyone's business? Question 9. Please indicate which may be of interest. Great to see 48% of you keen to find out more about Trailblazers, 14% speaking to someone about the jobs board, and 13% will be posting on the jobs board, again, which is great. And question 10, which of the following issues would be of interest for the future? The top ones here are active allyship, 77%, gathering and using data to tackle race inequality, 59%, mental health and well-being, 59%, skills and development training for ethnic diverse colleagues, 53%, and KPIs and accountability, 53%. And the other two, still over 50%, are bias recruitment and reciprocal mentoring. So thank you all for doing this, and it'll help us build the Race Equality Matters program over the next 12 months. Okay, does mandatory training work? I keep getting pushback from D&I manager. So is that for Lily? Are you there, Lily? I can't hear you for talking.
I think Lily had to leave
okay,
at
yeah,
half 1, but yeah, so I think from Network Rail's perspective, we did make the Stand Up for Race Equality mandatory, and you know, from the feedback that Lily kind of showed and the stats that we've had, I really do think that it worked and made more people think about the impact that racial inequality has, not just generally on people in the workplace, but on safety as well.
Okay, and Mark, do you want to touch on that one as well, from your experiences?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think mandatory training is important for a couple of reasons. Number one, it really just sets the base expectation. And I know that many firms or many organizations don't like to have a sheep dip kind of approach. But for me, mandatory training is where you start. It's not where you finish. And everyone in the organization needs at least that basic understanding, not only of the general law, but your organization's approach to D&I and your expectations. So for me, mandatory training is the very foundation of understanding, and you build from there. But it should be a non-negotiable in my book.
Question from Fabian. How can we make racial equality more about the minority employees and less about the organization meeting a compulsory government guidelines? I'm going to say, would Leon be able to answer that one? So how can we make racial equality more about minority employees and less about organization meeting compulsory government guidelines?
That's a really good question. My first of all, I think it's really important that when we look at our inclusion plans, they're centered around the community, but actually the community are working in conjunction with allies to help mobilize change. And I think that's important. I do believe that change initiatives are best led by those to which the experience belongs to. Because of course the community will have the sort of lived reality of some of the pain points within the experience across the colleague life cycle. But of course they do need allyship to help gain access, to help make decisions, and to help mobilize and accelerate progress.
Great, thank you. A good question here. I'm going to throw it to Raj, if that's okay, if you're there, Raj. This is basically, when will we begin discussing equity rather than equality? When disparities exist, treating people equally maintains a disparity. We need equity, not equality. Do you have a take on that?
Yeah, who knows? Half the people in D&I roles in this country don't know the difference between equity and equality. So it really depends on who you're talking to and what the appetite is within the organisation. So for a lot of the companies that we consult with or that support our campaign, they are still very much at the early stage of a diversity maturity matrix. So there's no point with them talking about equity when they haven't even really done the basics, which is why I'm a big fan of mandatory training. I also think part of this journey to be able to maturely have a discussion around equity without giving power to people to go, well, that means we're going to move out. So there's some kind of scarcity mentality that if other people are given an equal footing or a more equal playing field, that the majority lose out. So you do have to do something that is right for the organisation. But I always think the concern that I have is that the organisations are so desperate to do something that they either push more onto their ethnic minority staff who already have full-time jobs, or they try and cut and paste what they've been told works elsewhere. So you can often do the right things and get no results, or in some cases, certainly around women and women of colour, you get negative results, even though you're doing the right things, but you're just not landing them in a way that's sensitive and intelligent. So I think some organisations are ready to talk about equity. We don't have the same framework or market size or demarcation around customer spend to drive that through commercial decision making in our PLCs as they do in the States. But most organisations just need to be really good at doing the basics to build enough trust to get onto a more progressive agenda.
Brilliant, thank you. I'll come back to a couple of questions. So just, Jyoti, I'm going to leave this one with you, but before we answer it, we'll go into the a poll, if that's okay. So the question to you, Jules, is from Jules. 60 years on from Martin Luther King's stating the dream, what can be done to speed up equitable change, and who should be leading it? Because as part of the Cultural Fusion Network, so what can be done to speed up change and who should be leading it? So can we just get the poll up in the meantime, please, Blaise? If everyone can complete that. There's got to be one question there. How was the collaboration group? I accept the score can be the lowest you can find on that one.
Mark, what do you think about that question around moving things forward and who's ultimately responsible?
Yeah, I mean, I think the bottom line is that the CEO of any organization is the ultimate decision maker, and they need to be ultimately accountable. But what makes a business move? I think what makes the business move is its stakeholder pressure, and we as ethnically diverse communities have increasing purchase power. We have increasing visibility. We have an increasing ability to mobilize with social media. And I don't see us doing that effectively. So companies will take us very seriously when their talent leaves, when the customers choose other competitors who are doing more, and when we move to different suppliers or businesses because they're meeting their values. So unfortunately, I think we're a long way off rapid change. I think the best companies are achieving kind of sustainable change at an okay rate, but we're a long way off. So we need to hold the decision makers accountable. We individually need to be accountable, but as a community, we have to do something for ourselves, and that's take our business and our talents where we are welcomed and where it matters. And I think if we galvanize that, you'd see progress move a lot faster.
Blaise, can you get poll 2 up, please? Thank you, Blaise. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. Yeah, so hopefully people see that. Thank you. There is a question later on for future topics. So again, it's your chance to say what future topics we will include.
And Leon, we've seen in some industries quite a lot of collaboration between different organisations, particularly I think rail and engineering, where Mark and Network Rail and there's been some great D&I leaders in there. In terms of retail that's been so fiercely competitive, is there any collaboration between these huge employers or not?
I would say there is definitely a level of collaboration. So I reflect back on my experience with Tesco and our partnership with the Black British Network and all of the member organisations that sit within that. And there are a number of other retailers that sit within the Black British Network, such as Co-op, Sainsbury's, but also it has a really broad reach. So you have the likes of Yahoo and the BT Group, for example. And we're all sort of collaborating on that problem of systemic racism, sharing insights between organisations and things that have worked really, really well, as well as any barriers towards progress. I know quite recently BT and Yahoo, as well as Tesco, we hosted events for all member organisations at our own head offices a couple of weeks ago for all colleagues that were really interested in advancing the racial equity agenda to participate, but also to network and ultimately share learnings around best practice.
Thank you. So I'll go through the poll because we would like to finish on time. Would you recommend today's event to others? 95% yes. Look, I just want to thank you ever so much for turning up and also for your patience. You know, we are doing all of this out of the love of our heart and on a shoestring budget, and we wouldn't be able to do it at all without some of our partners like Network Rail and Lloyd's of London in particular. So apologies for the technology, but the fact that there's still almost 300 people here really does mean that there's a lot of people who are here for the right reasons. So, you know, my genuine appreciation of being so generous with your time. Secondly, do you think making it everyone's business will make an impact on tackling race equality? 94% of you said that it will. Which of the following did you find insightful? The panel, almost 70% said that was great or good. Allyship program, 69%, and how to become an anti-racist organisation, 50%. I would love it if everyone who got that treatment in any organisation was offered a promotion, but somehow I don't think we're quite ready for that yet. 80% of us learned something new today. Well, I know I did, so thank you. Will you look to implement anything that you learned today to help make race equality everyone's business? 63% yes. 23% I would, but I don't have the power or authority to. So in some of our other webinars and network groups, we do talk about influencing skills and managing upwards through allies. Ultimately, organizations really act only in their self-interest when push comes to shove. So making it everyone's business and them understanding the benefits of that perhaps is something that we could cover another time if there's enough interest from the group. Were the discussion groups insightful? Well, you know, thank you ever so much for those who said yes, even though we weren't able to get the chat rooms up. But I'm going to move swiftly along there. Will you or your organisation take part in the 5-day challenge? Both my organisation and I will, 44%. I will, 33%. So 77% of people will be involved and 21% not sure. So for you who are not sure, there is more information available on the website should you need persuading or some collateral to get others to commit. And do you think the 5-day challenge will help make race equality everyone's business? 60% yes, 5% no, 35% undecided. Then we asked you what would be of interest. Finding more about REM trailblazers, 48%. 2% of you want to make a donation to REM. Thank you very much. Please do get in touch with us. We'd be delighted to have some more funding, which we may even spend on technology, you never know. And finally, which of the following issues would be of interest for future events? 51% were interested in reciprocal mentoring, biased recruitment, over half as well. KPIs and accountability, also over half. Almost 60% for gathering and using data to tackle race equality, which I'll come back to in a second, and almost 60% mental health and wellbeing. So that's a really good steer from you. Thank you. That may go some way to agree what our research agenda is for last year. Although I would say that just collecting data is not taking action. And what we see is we see plenty of organisations who would like to do something about representation in terms of recruitment and retention. You know, we're only a 100-person strong headhunting business, so we're a very small player in this market. But even we know that just collecting data doesn't actually make any impact. Now, if there's a problem, you know by walking around, right? You don't need a spreadsheet. So making sure that they're collecting the right data or they're not using it to get a degree of certainty is very important, because we know by own lived experience whether we'd like to see more representation to better represent the customers that we're looking to work with. Javed, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's the poll.
Fantastic, thank you. Just a quick question. I'll squeeze 2 more questions in within the time. Jyoti, how do staff network leads most effectively communicate with trustees and board and senior members? So how do you get their engagement or their buy-in? Are you there, Jyoti? Yeah, hi.
Yes. So we have our executive sponsors of the Cultural Fusion Network and a director of diversity inclusion as well. So we have those seats at those leadership tables to really promote what we're doing and raise those issues. So that helps.
I'm just going to pick up a comment Miranda Routledge did, which I think is everyone. I think everyone can do something, even if it's something small. And I think that's if everyone's business. If we all do one thing, even like that's why the Big Promise was created. That will make a difference. I'm conscious we're coming up to the time, so thank you all. Now, some of the topics are being covered on Thursday's event. So do go onto our website. We do look at data. You know, how to capture it and how to use it. I think there's 2 parts to it, and I know Lloyd is struggling to capture the representation in an organisation, so we'll be focusing on that and 2 other key topics. So thank you for your time and bearing with us and your kind words of support. Have a good week. Do post on social media and at us, as I say, Race Equality Matters, and drop any emails or comments to info@raceequalitymatters.com. And we will be coming out with more information, access to the videos most probably next week, but there will be a follow-up email later today to provide you with some links of some of the resources provided. And please do feel free to use our videos if it helps drive change in your organizations. Big thank you to the speakers, Leon, Mark, Jyoti, and Lily, and also Joe and Amma. And again, the videos for them will be made available to people. The event has been recorded, so you can hear the 4 speakers that were here today be recorded, and there's insightful things, and seeing the questions did cover a lot. We can't do this without a community. So as Raj touched upon, it is on a shoestring. We'd like to have 2 shoestrings. Please do touch base with us if you want to support us, no matter how big or small. We accept medium as well. Please do think about it, and whether it's a donation or to get some branding and marketing, we can consider that as well. So thank you all, and thank you everyone.